Morning.
I think I'd have my password figured out.
I know your password.
Okay, I know because it's the same as yours. Good morning. So
Hi,
you
y'all.
can see we've kind of had a theme the last day or so, and it's because our American Gatherings pre-cuts finally came, except for the fat quarter bundles.
I forgot to turn off Do Not
Put our
Disturb.
phone off.
It's telling me we're live.
Which is awesome.
Okay,
Okay,
it worked.
so in case you're wondering though why these pre-cuts took forever to come, it's because it was Moda's largest ever pre-cut order.
Lisa Bonjean broke Moda.
She did. It's like breaking the internet. And it's because she's got her sew along coming up that uses a fat quarter bundle. And they've never had so many fat quarter bundles ordered ever. And so that's why when they shipped the pre-cuts, they shipped everything but the fat quarter bundles. Because I don't know if you know this, Moda fat quarter bundles are folded by hand, you guys. And they got kind of hung up at the mill, wherever they fold them.
Right. Well, they're still working on them. And see, normally they like to ship all the pre-cuts at once. You know, it's like your restaurant. They serve everybody at the table at the same time. Same thing. But they decided...
We're tired of waiting for the fat
quarter bundles. So they served up the jelly rolls and honey buns and charm packs first.
And fat quarter bundles are still on their way. But my favorite projects with this collection don't use the fat quarter bundle. So,
great.
All good. So we're all set.
The fat quarter bundles are coming.
The fat quarter bundles.
Anyway, so we got pre-cuts, and Liz and I talked last week about some of our Tula projects we're going to do. She mentioned some vinyl bags that she's going to make. And then these pre-cuts came in, and I was thinking we should talk about how to sew with the vinyl.
And this is the world's easiest vinyl project.
So we're going to make a little project pouch, which uses pre-cuts. It uses a mini charm pack. So if you've ever seen those little mini charm packs and you're like, oh, that's $3.99. I want one of those. I don't know what to do with it. Here's a great project.
You make a bag.
Make a bag.
These, by the way, these two that are sitting here, live in our cars.
This is Liz's. It lives in her car. This is mine. Lives in my car. Got my embroidery, scissors, needle nanny, threads, needles, everything, so that, you know, if I'm ever stuck in a traffic jam or waiting for kids
and I don't have a quilt to bind in the car, there's always embroidery.
There's always embroidery.
Because that's how we are. So,
you know the whole thing where they say, like, busy hands calm mind? That couldn't be more true for me.
Although I'm not sure it calms me down. Anyway, it's actually probably a good thing.
It at least gives me something to do.
So, we're going to make ours out of American Gatherings because I had the mini charm here. And then I took it home and I was trying to arrange my cute little squares. Jen put a link to this in the video.
Yeah, it's in the video.
Okay. So, it's a free tutorial
from Moda Bake Shop.
Moda Bake Shop that's now on the My Moda blog. And I started arranging them because I have to do organized random because real random does not work for me. And my organized random ended up turning into a miniature version of this. And I had brought home a fat quarter to use on the inside, but after making a miniature version of this, I had to use leftovers of
in case you're wondering, is the bag
back from this guy, which is the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. So it's now my lining because as long as it was going to be a miniature version of the quilt, it should just stay that way. So I did this part ahead of time because you guys did not want to watch me do this today. You use 36 of the 42 mini charms and sew it together. I press all my seams open. She presses hers left and right alternatively.
Doesn't matter, take your pick.
Whatever you want.
You're going to quilt it a little bit. Liz did straight line quilting. When I did mine, apparently this is my way to go. I did
the
cross hatching pattern.
There's lots of different options.
Take your pick. But
you
it does need to be
quilted. I don't really care.
It doesn't need to be heavily quilted, but it does need to be quilted.
It's heavily quilted because I'm me and that's how I like things.
I think it's more stable though as a bag being heavily quilted.
I would agree. To be honest. Plus, my straight lines that aren't perfectly straight look less not straight when there's a lot of them.
Right.
When there's only a few, they stand out. I don't know. It's the perfectionist in me.
Right.
Okay, so to do this, you guys, like we said, we're going to use some vinyl. We are actually going to do multiple thread changes today. As you will notice, Jen and I use the same thread for everything. Today is not the case because the thread's going to actually show up.
And we need it to match.
This is our vinyl. I have the paper that comes with it behind it. I cut a big rectangle. These are rectangles for our tops. Like I said, the cutting instructions are all in that link. I did it ahead of time to speed things up. And I brought some of my Wonder Clips, you guys, today. And we're going to show you why. But I think they're a necessity when working with vinyl.
Always with vinyl.
Personal opinion. So, shall we start by...
Let's start
attaching this. So this is our 14 by 4 inch piece if you look at the tutorial. And what we do is we essentially make this into a double fold. We fold it in half and press it.
And then we
open it up and fold it in half and press it again.
The point is we don't want any raw edges along the sides.
Because this part is going to be completely...
This piece that she's doing, this piece, is the bottom of the zipper right here. And we want it to be finished both inside and outside, which is why we make it essentially a double fold binding.
So we open it up, press it in again.
Sorry, she missed a loop when she threaded this, so I had to fix it.
That's fine. I press, she sews. It works for me.
You know, I was thinking back to when we did all those bags at that family reunion a gajillion years ago, and I was at the machine then too.
Yeah, and I probably did a whole lot of ironing.
Right.
Cutting.
One of you guys was pressing. You were Sarita. One of you was pressing. One of you was pinning. I just sat there and sewed.
We got this cool iron from our shop. Actually, we got it because my mom sources them.
She loves to find vintage items. I don't know where she finds them all, but she does.
She loves to find them and make sure they work and clean them up and resell them. So this is a Durabuilt travel iron. You guys, it folds.
It folds
it's
flat.
Hot, so I don't want to show this too much. But see, it folds flat and fits right in my featherweight bag.
It also gets really hot.
It's going to get hot and hurt me, so I'm not going to do that too much.
All right. I'm going to grab this piece of vinyl, which you can't see that I'm holding, but it's clear.
What we did is we made this pocket here, right?
Right.
Okay. So this vinyl is going to fit right up in there up to that fold. Now, these are all cut big, okay? This is trimmed down to a 12.5 inch square. This is like 14 by 10.
We're going to trim
it. In fact, she says to cut it 14 by 9. I cut it even bigger than that because there's always room to trim it and you can't make it bigger. So,
right.
And so don't.
And the vinyl's awesome.
And the vinyl's crazy cheap. So
right. It's like $6 for a yard,
which is 54 inches long by 36.
Right.
So
you can make lots of
Don't get an inch stingy on the vinyl. It ain't worth it.
Okay, guys, I clipped on the vinyl. And now what I'm going to do is sew,
top stitch it
down, but at the bottom, not the top.
Yes, so at the bottom to where it's catching, where the open part of the fold is. Right, I hope that makes sense. Now, guys, one of the reasons we like to use our Wonder Clips on the vinyl is because, unlike fabric...
Where's your plastic? Your paper?
Oh, you want the paper? Oh.
I do. Guys, the vinyl is a little sticky.
Sorry, I just hold it up.
And one of the things, and so it doesn't want to slide on my table. So
we have the plastic table.
Because I've got a plastic table. So I'm just going to put this underneath, and that'll help me feed it through.
After I wadded it up, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so my reason for using the Wonder Clips versus a pin. Fabric, when we put a pin in it, right, because this is what we always do, after we take the pin out, the holes go away, right? Like, because we're pinning between...
We're usually going through the weave.
Through the weave. We're rarely breaking the weave of the fabric with our pins. Now...
Wow, who messed with our tension?
Vinyl doesn't have a weave, you guys.
It doesn't.
It is plastic. So if we poke a hole in it, that hole stays poked in it.
Forever and ever, amen.
So if we are going to...
I gotta fix tension. I need my leader. There it is.
Yes, you do need to fix the tension. Okay, so if we're going to poke holes in...
Sometimes in live videos, we use seam rippers. So we don't want to poke holes in vinyl in a place that's not going to end up covered.
In the seam allowance.
It needs to be totally in the seam allowance.
So where I'm unpicking this, there are going to be extra holes in the vinyl.
But it's within the seam allowance. It's going to be hidden.
So it's not a problem.
But if I were to pin here and have it come out, that hole's going to stay forever.
That should tell you that there were tension issues because I just picked that out in 1 minute.
Right. That's the benefit. When your tension's really bad, it takes all of like 2 seconds to pick it out.
Unpicks for 1 second. Okay, so if you are going to pin instead of using Wonder Clips, which is totally your right to do, I would pin long ways like this. Okay? So you go ahead and put the pin in here and make sure that it's 100% within the seam allowance so that you're not poking holes in this part of the vinyl that's going to stay a part of the bag.
Take it back.
And sorry, English. Understand? I hope that's understandable.
I need my paper back. You dropped it on the floor.
I'm losing it. Y'all are
Sometimes we're
aware.
like super on top of things.
Woo!
Sometimes we're not.
Okay, so while she does that, and I end up doing two rows of stitches about 1/8 of an inch apart, kind of like a hem stitch,
Right.
on pants because I think it looks nice.
Right. It's really that it's decorative. Plus, we're gonna do that on the zipper, and so to have that on both the top and the bottom has a generally more balanced look to it.
Yeah. So while she does those 2 stitches, I'm gonna go ahead and press this in half, hot dog style. For those of us who grew up as kids in school in the 80s and 90s.
Right. And you folded hamburger and hot dog style.
Hamburger versus hot dog. Do they still do that in school? I don't know.
I don't know. I'll have to ask my kids. Do you know what folding hot dog style means?
I would assume so. Their teachers all went to school when we were with us. I don't know. Anyway. Interesting fun fact. Okay.
But it's funny because it's totally stuck with me. It's still how I...
Hot dog or hamburger. So this one we'd only have to press once because this raw edge is going to come right up here on the top and get caught in the binding.
Right.
And then this folded edge is what we're going to go ahead and attach to our zipper. So after she does this, we're going to change our thread to the blue because we're going to use a fun zipper today too. And I showed you these zippers last week with my Tula stuff.
They are fun. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of creativity reworking the pattern to make it work.
And this one, it's really easy to make it work.
It's so easy to make it work.
We're going to do it. If you guys can't tell what this is, it's hard to tell in the packaging. This is a Kimberbell lace zipper, you guys. So it's got these cute little eyelet-y flowers on both sides and this cute, adorable zipper pull right here. And this is the zipper I'm going to use. This is a 14-inch zipper, which is perfect for our 12-inch bag. Also, because we can cut off the ends of zippers. That's so easy.
And when making a bag, especially because we're going to sew all the way around it, there's going to be binding.
It's okay to cut off the ends of the zipper.
I would specifically make it so that these metal ends are not in my bag. So I'll start at the end, go and plan to trim these off. Because I don't want my needle hitting this.
Yes, if my needle hits this big end right here, it's going to hurt. So I'd rather it's hitting it inside of there.
Right.
To be clear.
It's always fun when we do these because when we tell people to cut off the ends of their zippers, they're like, they forget.
By the way, don't cut off the end of the zipper and leave the pull off. I mean, it's possible to get it back on.
Don't cut the pull off.
But it's no fun.
For those who are at our retreat in 2019,
we fixed those.
You may recall how much time Jen spent putting pulls back on zippers.
So normally with this bag and a zipper, what we would do is we put the zipper back behind this fold and just the zipper part would show up, right? But because this is a decorative zipper, what we're going to do is we're going to put it in front so that this part ends up on the front of the panel instead of behind it.
Right.
So if you're using a traditional zipper, it goes behind. If you're using these cute decorative ones, it goes in front. Another fun trick is don't have the pull on the edge. Have it in the middle. It's just better.
Right.
Okay.
Please.
So I also cut these pieces. They're more like 14.5 inches. So they're extra long.
Which means in this case, they're going to look longer than the zipper.
They're going to look, well, the zipper is going to look like it's barely long enough. But that's fine because we're going to trim it.
Right.
So no big deal here.
Right.
At all.
Not at all.
So I'm just going to put a couple pins in the zipper to have it be right where I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jen's going to change to our navy thread because we're using a navy zipper. So
it would look kind of funny to have red lines right there.
Red would be less cute.
Well, to really let the lace detail on those zippers,
we don't want
do
the
their
stitching
thing.
to be.
We want to hide the stitching.
Yeah. If it was just a if it was any other zipper that was back behind, I'd leave the red thread on clearly because I didn't want the red.
Which is why we use the red thread for the first step.
Mm-hmm. Now we're switching to blue.
There
so I have
we
it
go.
pinned on, and what she's going to do is sew right up onto the edge of that zipper. What you'll do is stop about halfway through and move the zipper pull down to get it out of your way.
Right. You just, I don't want this foot.
Where's the other one? Sit over here. You may be stuck with it.
I'd rather use the walking foot. No, I wouldn't.
I was going to say, no, you don't. Just use that one.
Fine.
I don't have the regular one. This is one where if you have the featherweight, the super narrow foot's nice.
If you have a zipper foot, that's also nice.
The zipper foot's nice. These are small zippers, so it's really not a huge deal.
I can't have my foot go over the top of the zipper. I just need a,
It just means being a little extra careful.
right. That's all. And I'm going to actually start with this outer edge from the zipper.
Yeah,
instead of
and then get closer on the second pass. Now, one thing about straight line quilting or these kind of seams is I like to go at them, like when she did this, both times from the same direction. Does that make sense? So that, because what happens is, because they don't 100% evenly feed,
especially with the vinyl.
if you're going alternating directions, you're going to get kind of a slight ripple. Is that the best way to put it? In there, and we're kind of not wanting to have that look. That's what I did when quilting this, you guys, last night. I had 1,000 tails, because if I just go back and forth, I'd have like super waves in here. And so they all went the same direction. Keep wanting to wad up that paper.
Stop. Don't do it.
No.
I'm
gonna yell at me again.
I'm gonna make her keep straightening it out.
So yeah, we won't.
But
I forgot a rotary cutter.
oh, that'll be fun.
Is Mom watching? I'll go get one.
Okay, go get a rotary
Go
cutter.
get a cutter and a. Jen's gonna show you how to do this part.
So we tend to leave this room at Mom's house. It's an empty. Where we shoot this is an empty bedroom at my mom and dad's house. We have stuff here and we leave it stocked. But at the time that we stocked this little studio, rotary cutters and blades were being really hard to come by. They were super back ordered everywhere. You know, in the land of COVID. And so we just always brought one of ours from home. Whoever was demoing that day in charge of the project brought a rotary cutter. So it's like the one tool that we don't always have available here. All right, so I got this zipper on. And I don't know if you noticed when I was doing this, when I got to the pull as I was sewing down the line, all I did was I left my needle down and lifted the foot and moved the pull out of my way. The nice part about leaving the needle down is then you don't get a little jog in your stitching. You can still get that really good straight line, but to get it out of the way. So we can just pull the zipper. Sometimes when I do bigger bags and the zipper is a few extra inches, there's room to just keep the pull out of the way the entire time. In this case, that's not an option, but there's a really easy workaround. Now what we're going to do is sew the zipper onto the vinyl portion of the bag. I'm going to take the paper that came with the vinyl again to help me feed this through my machine. I'm going to leave this smaller top panel piece as the on the top because it's easier to fit that in the throat of the machine than it is to try and fit this big awkward piece of vinyl. And then I'm just going to do the same thing and sew down the side of the zipper twice.
Okay.
Got a rotary cutter and a ruler.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Sorry about that.
I told him why we don't have a rotary cutter here.
Oh, because we were all out of them?
Yeah, they were like super back ordered everywhere Because guys, see, when everybody was all quarantining, a lot of people took up quilting and sewing.
Or got back into it after
years. And they needed basic supplies like rulers and rotary cutters and needles. And our suppliers, when they order out. The manufacturers order out. So really, if we need something next week, for our supplier to have it for us, it needed to be ordered by them a year ago.
Or a year before.
Well, because we usually order 6 months out, you know?
Yeah.
So, in the land of COVID, they weren't...
Where all of a sudden demand completely changed.
Right. That's why nobody was ready. It's not that the materials weren't there to make respirators and stuff. It's... You got to order a year out. I still have to do the second pass.
Yeah. We have them now.
We do have them now. I was just thinking
we should just bring a
rotary cutter here.
Because, we aren't that awesome. Alright, you guys. Okay,
because now we're at trimming time.
I know. Oh, so I should turn this off and get it out of my way.
Yeah, we're done with the iron now. Woo. And we don't want a hot iron on vinyl.
No.
Yeah, don't iron your vinyl, y'all. Okay, guys, a little bit of my paper got in here.
She'll just tear it out.
I'll just tear it right out. And honestly, as I feed this around before we put the batting on, it can be hard to get your foot, because I have a plastic foot here, not to stick to the vinyl. Honestly, a walking foot does not help.
No.
Because the feet on your walking foot are also plastic.
Or metal or something.
So it doesn't help. So the best way, if you're going to have to put your foot right on vinyl, there's two solutions. One, if you have a leather foot, that's awesome.
Because it rolls.
You'll know it's a leather foot because it has a roller right here. Those feed vinyl really well. Another option is to use paper like this and put that on top of your vinyl. This will rip right off. It won't be a problem. And then I can feed more evenly. That being said, I'm still going to grab a walking foot because it's bulky. But a walking foot against this is going to be way more effective than a walking foot by itself.
Okay, so you guys, what we're going to do now is you'll notice my vinyl / everything else is bigger than my bag. Correct? Okay, so what I'm going to do is start by trimming one side of it. And I'm going to use my bag here because I didn't bring a 12.5-inch square ruler.
What?
I know. Seriously, you guys. I'm usually better than this, right?
But you know what? You don't have to own a 12.5 square.
You don't, because I'm going to layer this.
Fit. Now, you're not going to cut your zipper pull off, yeah?
No.
Good.
Because I'm just doing the top right now.
Awesome.
I'm going to get my top end. And it is a little tricky because you will feel the bulk of the zipper under there.
Sometimes you have to go over it twice. You can totally cut a zipper off, guys.
Yes.
No big deal.
So I'm going to cut the tail of this zipper off right here. We just cut vinyl, zipper, and fabric. All in one quick pass with Mom's rotary cutter. She's fine.
We might owe her a new blade.
We don't owe her any blade.
I'm just kidding.
See, but now, watch this. I'm going to pull my zipper pull in.
And here's something you can do. I like to stick a pin right here.
So we're going to hold these two together close where they go. Because they're no longer attached.
Right. So I'll put a pin right here for two reasons. One, it holds the zipper closed. Two, I can't pull the zipper pull off. And actually, in my classes, I also tell them to put a pin over here. Mm-hmm. Because people are like, yay, I did it.
And they pulled the zipper off that way.
Right off.
Which is
right off the back end.
Also not awesome. Okay.
Right.
So I'm just putting a couple little clips in here so I can
move things around.
Move and have the vinyl stay in place. So yes, this is not the most comfortable cutting because, like I said, I got a clip here. But I'm lining it up with an already quilted edge. So precision isn't actually the name of the game. It's okay.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty darn close. And the binding is going to...
Honestly, if you're off a 32nd of an inch, life will go on.
And the binding will fix it.
Fine. The binding will fix it.
So I'm going to make sure my vinyl's where I think it is.
Because it's clear.
Because it's clear. And trim it off. Okay, so now what I have is this vinyl front that matches. By the way, this is adorable.
That's super cute.
That matches perfectly with my back. And once again, we talked about how we don't pin vinyl, right? Mm-hmm. So
Wonder Clips.
Wonder Clips it is.
All the way around.
Oh, you want the binding. Actually, I like to top stitch it.
I like to baste it before the binding.
Do the binding. I was like, I know there's a reason I'm doing this.
Yes. I like to top stitch it in place before I put the binding on. I mean, honestly, it's like with a quilt. It's tricky to put binding on something where there's multiple layers moving.
Like, I'm finishing up my pillow shams for my Nebula quilt. I baste my shams. Then, because the thing is, after we do this basting, see this side's overhanging more than I thought it would. So after we baste it, it'll be really a whole lot easier for me to trim that up closer if I want to. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and let Jen
I'm going to go ahead and stitch this.
And she might do it upside, do you want to do it upside down?
Nope, because honestly, the feed dogs on the vinyl is a bit of a pain too. So I'm just going to sew over paper. I'm just going to put this paper right over the top. Luckily, it's really thin. I can see right through it. And then I'm going to tear it off when I'm done.
And then we'll go ahead and use my cute stripey binding.
Then we don't need any extra, like, tricks.
So she's just going to baste in about 1/8 of an inch from the edge there. So that the stitch won't show up once we go ahead and put the binding on. These are extra strips from this quilt because this fabric line has some cute stripes in it. But,
the red, white, and blue
using them because, like, the blue stripes, I couldn't tell if they read more blue or the blue-white. And same with the red, and then this one's red, white, and blue. And they're adorable, but I didn't love them in this, and I didn't need them, so I didn't use them. So I had them left over. So they're going to be my cute binding on this bag.
Right.
Yay.
This
love repurposing extra jelly roll strips.
Right?
It's the best.
It is. Because a lot of times those go into, like,
a bin of something
the
that
land of oblivion scraps
someday, because that's kind of what they are. So when we trimmed that down to the 12.5 inches, I ended up trimming the middle ends off both ends of that zipper.
Tore that right off.
You can take that pin out too.
Yep, and now we can take that pin out because I've sewn it in.
Because the zipper's no longer going to go anywhere.
Right. Oh, I gotta trim my leader ender off.
Then she can keep going.
I'm making a mess.
Yep.
Don't mind me.
She just hands me junk.
I give her my garbage.
Whatever, I'm used to it.
That's what sisters are for.
Right? School's reminding me about something.
Oh. Okay. I bet it's terribly important.
I'm sure. Usually is. So, this will be fun because it's going to get added to my projects to bind in the car this weekend.
Right. This is going on a road trip.
Yeah, and I only have like 4 binding projects, so we should be covered.
You might stay busy.
Yeah, if my fingers survive it. Now, guys, this can clearly be machine bound.
Oh, definitely. You don't have to be hand binder for this.
Yeah, I'm anal and will bind by hand. But no judgment, you guys, for anyone who chooses to bind this by machine. Because it kind of makes more sense. But like I said, I'm going to go sit in the car for hours, so I may as well. Plus, it's a small project, and I love finding small projects in the car.
Right? It's like, hey, look. Like, it took me an hour.
I don't have to maneuver a giant quilt on my lap, which is fantastic.
All right. I sewed through paper. I thought I cut thread, but I didn't. I know, right? And then we're going to tear the paper off. Now you can crumple it to your heart's content. Liz has been dying to crumple it.
I have been.
She's like, that's what I should do with this stuff.
This is what you do with tissue paper when you tear it off of something. You just...
Right?
Now she's making a mess.
Now I'm making a mess with the little pieces. If you have little pieces that are stuck, tweezers are great. Thread-a-stats are great. It's also really fine, and you could just let it be if they're really tiny. I think of it like foundation paper piecing. Sometimes there's little scraps that just live there.
And you know what? They're going to be okay.
Right? Nobody's going to know. I'm going to cover it with binding. But honestly, that bit of a mess is so much nicer than
dealing with
fighting
vinyl sometimes.
With the vinyl.
Okay, so this one side is hanging over a little bit more than I'd like.
Yep.
So this is the time where we do that really simple fix, which is simply trim 1/8 of an inch off.
Right. So if you want it really precise trimming, this is a great time to do that, which is part of the reason we like basting. I do the same thing when I make pocket pillows. because sometimes things adjust and it needs one more trim before I bind.
Okay. All right. Now just basic binding.
Basic binding. I'm going to start at the top because then I can do my...
Yes. So then when she has to do her matching seams and playing with it, she ends up being able to do it over the fabric instead of over the vinyl.
Right. Well, because I want to have as big of a section as possible to do that. And it's a lot easier to manipulate it if it's fabric.
On the fabric side. And then what I'll do is I will put my binding clips all back on it after she does this and take it with me to bind. So, you guys are going to get to guess where I'm going this weekend.
Right.
Because I've been given a stack of quilts to photograph in the wild.
To photograph along the way.
So, we're going to see what you guys can figure out if you know where I'm at.
It's going to be a Quilts Roadshow.
Yes. Seriously, though.
We come up with the weirdest things.
It's true. Actually, I just tell people my entire life is a photo op, which is weird because
that feels fake, but
I'm an introvert, you guys. I have no desire to be famous on the internet whatsoever.
No.
Popularity contests are not my thing.
Nope.
And so, actually, the fact that we make videos every week for the internet is weird because it's well outside of our comfort zone.
Right, but clearly we care a lot because
I have no makeup on
and do our hair.
Anyway, so
I brushed my hair in the car on the way
here. I think it's funny that my life's a photo op because I'm really, honestly, not that type.
Right?
It kind of looks like it, but I'm not.
I'm not that person.
It's like, oh, we should do this, and then I think, oh, here's a way to multitask and make it whatever. But that's what it is.
You know, it's like when it's like, oh, well, we have dance tonight.
Although,
dance
you know
recital tonight. We need to take a picture of this quilt at the bridge.
I should write off my road trip. Look at that.
Oh, there you go.
I need to keep track of my miles.
Yeah.
We're going to do this. Just kidding.
Your accountant's
That's way too much work, you guys. I don't write anything off because it's too much work.
I was doing my taxes this last week
because,
you know, I'm usually really on top of doing my taxes, but man, this year I didn't want it.
I never want it. It's always expensive.
I finally did it. Right. It's always fun to write the check. It's like, thank you for preparing my taxes. Here's money. Thank you for taking my money.
Here's some more money. It gets less fun when you own a business.
It's way less fun when you own a business.
So, anyway, that's okay.
But yeah.
It's part of living in a civilized society, I guess.
Right. We got to pay for all these roads.
You know, roads are good.
Roads are
Schools
good.
are good. Schools are really good.
Right. Not a homeschool mom. It was like my hashtag for all of last year.
Not a homeschool mom.
Not a homeschool mom.
Super convinced I'll never be a homeschool mom. Which is
some of y'all are amazing at it.
Congratulations.
I doff my cap to you. That's awesome. It's not me. I can't do it. I love my kids.
I love them better when I'm not their teacher.
Right. I like them a lot better. We get along better.
Yes. That's why I told people I can be her teacher or her mother, but we can't preserve a relationship. And
all right. So
I'm going to use Jen's method.
This is my handy dandy measuring device. I cut off a piece of binding. I overlap.
It's 2.5 inches wide.
The width of the binding. It's good. I like to use it this way because, like the other day, I had already like sewn the binding on when I realized, oh yeah, the pattern told me to cut it at 2 1/4. But because I use this measuring device instead of a ruler, now it was the right
width. When I do this method, you guys,
come in just a smidge.
I know. I do end up using a pen still just to mark my other little corner so I can see it completely.
Right. It's really hard to see where you're going.
One of them's really easy. One of them's not so easy.
Right. So I'll use a pen just to draw a little line at the bottom point. I will pin this. Normally, I don't pin my binding when I go together, but when you're sewing these two and it's kind of wonky and it's tight like this, well, and I'm pulling the quilt.
Yes,
or the bag
for sure.
It wants to pull back, so
I do.
So
I end up with like 4 pins.
I use like 3 pins here, and then my personal method, because sometimes I'm too lazy to get a pin, is to put a pin right here, drawing my target, so I have something to shoot for.
Want a line?
No, I'm just going to do a little hash
I'm just wondering if you did. Okay.
There's my target.
She drew a target.
I drew a target.
So you know where you're going.
Right.
Wow, we used like everything out of here today.
Wow.
It's been a while.
We went a while without
We
even
haven't
sewing.
actually sewn for you guys in a long time, so maybe that's why we're a mess today. Oh.
It could be. We're like, wait a minute. We do need a rotary cutter.
It's been a while.
What a weird thing to need for a quilting video.
Weird. I know. And if you're me, this is when you turn your iron on so that you can press this seam open nice and get your fold flat again.
Right. If you're me, you don't turn your iron on.
Okay, I do always open it to make sure.
Please double
I'm
check
good.
before you turn
Because
it off.
if you trim this off and you're a little too tight, you're gonna hate yourself. Well, you're gonna hate life.
Or you're gonna, maybe you accidentally sewed it the wrong direction.
Anyway, but if you just pull it like this real quick, oh yeah, see, I'm good. Now trim it, because it's always fixable before you
it's
trim.
that little step that only takes a second, but saves you a lot of time.
If you messed it up.
Now, I like my seam open there, so what
I'll
I'll
always
do
open it.
is I'll take 2 Wonder Clips and put it on each side
Finger press it really good.
and lay it down flat.
So now we're gonna make sure it's gonna fit in just right.
Which it will.
Which it will. See, perfect. And she's gonna finish it. So, and then this is gonna be a super adorable bag. Right. Because I need more project bags.
Always.
Actually, I always do. Because
I was looking for one the other day.
I spent a couple years doing a lot of table runners for the shop. And I'd go in to pick out my fabrics every time, and they all come home in a bag like this.
Trim our tails. Voila! I know it doesn't actually look done, but you know, once we flip the binding,
I'll put a clip on it and then it'll look done.
then it'll look done.
And then the back will be adorable with my
Stripes.
super cute stripiness, right?
I love that zipper on the top. I might have to go
Right?
make one for myself.
We're gonna run out of navy lace zippers.
I need more project bags. Well, actually, I need to grab one because I was gonna do a different kind of bag with a lace zipper with Tula.
I got all those lace zippers at home for my Tula bags, which is all gonna have to wait till I get back in town. Right, so.
Mine's not waiting. It's coming
Yeah,
along.
Jen's is looking awesome, and I'm really kind of jealous because mine is cut. It's cut.
Good job. Cutting's a big job.
It really, especially when you're fussy cutting
Right.
on the bias, everything.
Right. Well, and that was my thing. It's like this one, and some of the patterns
There was like
go
4
horizontal to the grain, to the selvage, and other patterns go
Or
vertical to
vertical.
the selvage.
Yes, it was a fun fussy cut.
Yeah, I don't usually use that much brain power when I'm cutting.
That's a lot of brain power to cut.
But it's kind of fun to be done cutting.
And I know not everybody has to clip their entire project with Wonder Clips, but I do.
Especially when it's little.
I'm anal and me, and you guys should be used to that.
She's
by now,
particular.
Right?
I'm gonna steal another scrap for a leader ender.
Oh, I guess that's fine. Why don't you just leave that tail here?
Hey, it could be like perpetual leader enders.
Perpetual, so we have them for.
See, this
later.
way the tension is good, and it's threaded properly for next
Guess
week.
what?
What?
I have a bag to bring all my thread home in.
You don't have to carry them individually.
I'm gonna say I carried them individually here. And look at that! I have exactly the right number of clips.
Well, yeah.
Because, you know.
We're dorks.
And there we go. There's our vinyl
Here,
project
open
pouch
your bag. It's on the other side.
with a cute lacy zipper to hold my thread. Total nerd. I admit it. It's adorable. I love the stripes on the binding.
Stripes are always the right answer for binding.
Always
The right answer.
So yeah, anyone need an Americana bag? Because I got one.
Right here.
With the Constitution and everything.
This, by the way, is a wide back.
It is.
So,
and it's also printed stupid.
The directionality on it.
So
they weren't
most
thinking.
fabrics are printed so that if you need more of the direction, it's the length of the fabric, which is great. A wide back, though, most of the time, the length of the fabric that we need is selvage to selvage. So it's opposite normal fabric. So when I picked up the wide back for this thing, you guys, I had tons, right? because it was gonna... Anyway, it wasn't until I pressed this wide back at 11 o'clock the night before I was gonna quilt it that I realized the printing went the other direction. And so my words were gonna be sideways. And I literally, because I had gotten plenty, because, you know, Liz doesn't like to skimp on backs, because
Right.
I quilt it for myself and I still hate it. I ended up not having plenty because I had cut 2 yards of it.
Barely enough.
This quilt's like 70 inches long, and I had 2 yards of wide back, and I pinned it all the way to the very top and all the way to the very bottom, and had tons of extra on the sides.
Right.
And barely made it. Please don't bring me a quilt like that to quilt.
I won't take it.
So
she could have added liters and
I
inches.
could have, or I
She
could have cut
didn't.
myself 2.5 more yards of this stuff.
Or 2 1/4 would have been plenty.
Yes. Anyway, but the point is, if you like this wide back, and it's awesome, it really is, I just want you to know that the directionality of it,
I think we put a sticker on it.
yeah, but I don't know if it's a lot on the website. The directionality of it is probably opposite what you think. The words are not going
It's running
top to
along
bottom,
the
selvage to
selvage.
selvage. The words are length of fabric. So if you want your text vertical,
Which you probably do.
you want to buy the number of yardage you need to go from top to bottom instead of the other way.
Right.
And stop speaking Spanish. Yes, I hope that makes sense.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. I'm going to go pack up my kids for a road trip and pick them up from school. And
Jerry,
survive.
it's not a spider, it's a leader ender. It's only a spider when you guys leave all your long threads on it. Liz and I don't deal well with tails. They get trimmed off.
Yes.
So mine's not a spider. It's a leader ender.
Yep. No extra threads hanging.
I can
Threads
only
hanging
harass
bad.
Jerry because it's kind of my job.
It's true. And we love her.
And we love her.
Okay.
All right. Have a good weekend, everybody.
We'll see you next week. I'm going to make Jen do something interesting.
Oh.
She's going to find out what it is.
I don't know what it is.
Anyway.
Okay. All right. We'll see you next week doing something interesting.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye. So, what am I